We will now confer an honorary degree upon an individual who has distinguished herself through extraordinary achievements in the arts. Regent Schaefer, will you please escort the candidate to the podium? The doctoral hood will be placed on the candidate by Dr. Ellen Weisinger and Regent Schaefer. Dean Charles O'Connor of the Hickson Lead College of Fine and Performing Arts will introduce the candidate.
Chancellor Perlman, it is my honor to introduce opera singer, recording artist, author, and humanitarian Barbara Hendricks as the candidate for an honorary degree, Doctor of Fine Arts. We are proud to call Ms. Hendricks one of our own. She earned a Bachelor of Science degree majoring in mathematics and chemistry from UNL. We are also grateful for her generosity in providing students an opportunity to study voice at UNL. Ms. Hendricks presented a concert in the Kimball Recital Hall in 1988, the proceeds from which she generously donated created the Barbara Hendricks Endowed Scholarship in Voice, and our commencement singer, Angela Gilbert, who you just heard, is the recipient of one of those scholarships. Ms. Hendricks also studied at the Juilliard School of Music in New York and made her operatic debut in 1974 at the San Francisco Opera and the Glyndebourne Festival, as well as her recital debut in New York City's Town Hall. Ms. Hendricks has sung at all the major stages in the world, including Paris Opera, the Met in New York, Covent Garden in London, and La Scala in Milano. She made her jazz debut at the Montreux Jazz Festival in 1994 and has since performed regularly in renowned jazz festivals throughout the world. Barbara Hendricks is one of today's best-selling recording artists and has made over 100 recordings. In 2006, Ms. Hendricks launched her own record label, Arte Verum, for which she is now recording exclusively. Her memoirs, Lifting My Voice, were published in 2014 by Chicago Review Press and has been translated into French, Spanish, and Swedish. In addition to her highly successful career in the performing arts, she has devoted herself to nearly 20 years of untiring service to the cause of refugees in collaboration with the United Nations Refugee Agency. She has been named the Honorary Ambassador for Life by the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees and is given special tasks that demand her long, unparalleled experience and commitment. At the end of 1991 and 1993, she gave 2 solidarity concerts in war-ridden former Yugoslavia. In 1998, she founded the Barbara Hendricks Foundation for Peace and Reconciliation to personalize her struggle for the prevention of conflicts in the world and to facilitate reconciliation and enduring peace where conflicts have already occurred. Barbara Hendricks has received numerous awards from around the world for her artistic achievements and humanitarian work. Chancellor Perlman, it is my honor to present Barbara Hendricks for the honorary degree, Doctor of Fine Arts.
In recognition of her outstanding career and artistry in the field of music and performance, in honor of her untiring service to the cause of refugees and peace, in gratitude of her loyalty and service to her alma mater, the University of Nebraska confers upon Barbara Hendricks the honorary degree, Doctor of Fine Arts. Dr. Hendricks will now deliver the commencement address entitled Homecoming and Thanksgiving.
President Bounds, Provost Frist, Chancellor Perlman, Senior Vice Chancellor Weisinger, Dean O'Connor, University of Nebraska Board of Regents, distinguished members of the faculty of the University of Nebraska, and the members of the class of 2015, and your family and friends. It is a great honor to be with you today and to celebrate my homecoming to Lincoln. I was born in Stevens, Arkansas on the 20th November 1948. 20 days later, in San Francisco, the General Assembly of the United Nations proclaimed and adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Article number 1, all human beings are born equal in dignity and in rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act toward one another in a spirit of sister and brotherhood. But at that time, my family was forced to live under the Jim Crow laws of segregation in the South. My mother was an elementary school teacher, and my father was a pastor in the Christian Methodist Episcopal Church. At the age of 16, I graduated from the Horace Mann High School in Little Rock, Arkansas. My parents decided that I should attend a Methodist school, Lane College in Jackson, Tennessee. My major was mathematics, and my minor was chemistry. After 2 years there, and without my parents' knowledge, I applied to transfer to Beloit College in Wisconsin. And during the summer of 1967, I waited eagerly for their confirmation of my scholarship. But another letter from the Dean of Lane College arrived first, inviting me to become an exchange student to Nebraska Wesleyan University in Lincoln, Nebraska. And the only thing I knew about Nebraska was that Johnny Carson was from here. But when I arrived in September, I could not have imagined that my life was about to take a big turn and that Lincoln, Nebraska would become one of my most cherished homes. I had sung in church and school choir since I was very young, but never had any vocal training. I sang in the choir at Lane College, but voice lessons were exclusively for music majors. So I was very happy to be able to take lessons at Wesleyan with the head of the voice department, whom all of the students affectionately call Pop Bennett. One of his students was entering the Metropolitan Opera District auditions and convinced me to do so too. I did it for fun, expecting to be eliminated in the first round. However, I advanced to the finals, and no one was more surprised than I when I was awarded the first prize. Winning meant going in the spring to the regional competition in Minneapolis. I had a problem. I was supposed to return to Lane College at the end of the semester. So how would I prepare for the competition there as a math major? I had to stay with Pop Bennett. But the rules of the exchange program stipulated that all exchange students must return home at the end of that semester. Among my supporters were the Med Opera Auditions Committee, headed by Mrs. Jeanette Seidels, and Wesleyan's president, Dr. Vance Rogers. He asked Lane's president to allow me to stay until the end of the school year. Permission was granted. In Minneapolis, I advanced to the finals, but thankfully did not move on to New York because I really was not ready. I returned to Lincoln, enriched by the experience and eager to get back to my studies. My organic chemistry teacher invited me to come with her during the summer to Vermilion, South Dakota, to do complex ion substitution research. I thought it could be interesting and was about to say yes when fate sent me around another corner. During the semester, I had been singing in the choir of the St. Paul United Methodist Church, and a member of the congregation asked me to sing for a meeting that she was organizing here at the university. I refused because it was to take place the evening before my physics final. She insisted, and I finally agreed. Present at that meeting was a lawyer, Mr. Richard Smith, a member of the Board of Trustees here at the university, as well as at the Aspen Summer Music School and Festival. He wrote a letter some days later to Pop Bennett offering me a full scholarship to go to Aspen and to study with Jenny Terrell. I had, of course, heard of Aspen, Colorado, but I had never heard of Jenny Terrell. Nevertheless, complex ion substitution was beginning to sound much less exciting. Pop Bennett encouraged me to accept without delay. So during 9 weeks, I was immersed in music from morning to night. Chamber music, great symphonies, recitals, my first opera, La Boheme. And I absorbed the entire experience like a thirsty sponge. But it was to be my encounter with Jenny Terrell that would change my life. At the end of those 9 weeks, she said to me, "You have a special talent. If you want to continue to pursue your career seriously, I would be happy to accept you as my student at the Juilliard School of Music in New York City." I replied, "I would love to study with you, but I must first finish my degree. I will prepare myself for an audition next spring." My life's path was making a 180-degree turn. I accepted it without knowing where it would lead. No guarantees of success, because I did not even know what success would look like. This was the first great leap of faith in my life. I called Dr. Gans, the choir director at St. Paul's Church, and one of the voice teachers here at the university, to ask for his advice and help. He was convinced that if I would prepare well my audition to Juilliard, that I would be accepted. Knowing that I could not return to Wesleyan, he suggested that I apply here at the University of Nebraska. I did, was accepted with full tuition scholarship, and he became my voice teacher. Everything was falling into place, but where was I going to live? Among my friends in Aspen was 17-year-old Freddie Webster Jr. from Lincoln. He heard about my housing problem and said, "Maybe you can come and live with us. I will speak to my mom." Of course, I didn't take him seriously and was dumbfounded when he told me the next day that all was settled. His parents thought it was a great idea. I moved into my room in their home on Sheridan Boulevard, and in no time at all became a member of this very generous family. As a matter of fact, I will sing a concert this August in Estonia with little Dougie Webster, who is now a professional singer, and he was only 6 years old when I moved into his home. I changed my major to chemistry and my minor to math. Dr. Norman Cromwell was the head of the chemistry department, and he was my advisor. He and my many other professors were aware of my ambition to enter the Juilliard School the following year and were encouraging and supportive. I really liked physical chemistry, and I entertained some pangs of regret that I would not be continuing with quantum mechanics. But Dr. Cromwell assured me that if it didn't work out in New York, that I would always have my place here in the chemistry department. Exceptionally, I was also accepted in university singers, but I was not allowed to sing solos, as I was not a music major. But on one occasion, I was asked to replace a tenor who was ill. But when he heard about this, he miraculously recovered. I played a small role and volunteered to be an all-purpose stagehand for a theater production. The head of the drama department, Dallas Williams, was a tough, authoritarian, and demanding director with very strict rules. He taught us that the contribution, no matter how small, of each person involved in the creative process is of equal importance. He constantly reminded the actors that it is the work of the people working backstage who make it possible for them to be out front. "You are nothing alone," he said. For him, the beauty and the richness of the process was to be found in the collective effort. I continued to sing in the church choir, and our pastor, Dr. Clarence Forsberg, became a close friend and a counselor to me for many years. So that spring, I went to New York for my audition, and some weeks later, I received my letter of acceptance to the Juilliard School of Music in the Bachelor of Music program in Voice and Opera with a full tuition scholarship for 4 years. I would have to take care of my housing and food and transportation myself. But thankfully, Richard Smith and the Friends of Barbara Hendricks that he organized helped pay for my room that I rented the first year I lived in New York. In August, I finished my requirements for my degree. So today is my commencement ceremony 46 years later. Afterwards, I sang a farewell recital at the home of Pat and Dick Smith. In attendance were my parents, my brothers, the Websters, the Med Auditions Committee, Dr. Forsberg, member of St. Paul's, Dr. Cromwell, Dr. and Mrs. Gantz, my professors and friends. In September, Fred and Wanda Webster and I said tearful goodbyes as I boarded the night train to New York's Penn Station. I was met there by Dr. Cromwell's cousin, Margaret Young, and her husband, with whom I stayed while looking for housing in the city. The 60s had been a tumultuous decade. The assassinations of President John F. Kennedy in 1963, his brother Robert and Martin Luther King in 1968 were devastating, a loss of a certain innocence in our country. But every generation wants to contribute, and mine was politically active in the struggle for women's and minority rights, and in opposition to a war on the other side of the world that was sending young men of our age home in coffins or with broken spirits. However, when I stepped out on the platform at Penn Station, I felt that everything was possible. Even though I stood before a totally empty page, my heart was filled with hope and immense gratitude. The choice of Jenny Terrell had been a divine one because I was about to fill that empty page with a noble purpose to become a true artist, of which she was the perfect example, serving her art with humility in service to a cause greater than herself. Since my birth, I have had many other supportive angels showing me the way. My parents, my teachers, choir directors, my Lincoln friends and family. My angels have inspired me to strive to serve my art and to live my life as an art. I have been able to live a poetic life in an epoch that has little time for poetry. Art is unique to us human beings. It is the very expression of the human condition and is as essential to life as the water that we drink and the air that we breathe. I have had the privilege to make music all over the world with the greatest musicians of my time, sharing with them peak experiences full of love, sorrow, joy, and laughter. And since 1986, I have been to conflict zones worldwide as a UN ambassador for refugees. I am now a citizen of the world. My voice is my passport, and the Declaration of Human Rights is my visa. The scientist in me is attached to the idea that it all began with one oscillating string. Could the Big Bang have dispersed it into a multitude of smaller strings that are incessantly striving to unite with their source, their own truth? And the musician in me believes that a true artist earns the privilege to be the instrument that vibrates in tune with that original string. There are moments during a concert when it seems to me that the audience hears the divinity of the music collectively, as if with one ear. The music circumvents our small, arrogant minds and touches directly a source within us with such power that just for a split second, we are reunited with that original vibration, reminding us that we all belong to the family of humanity. And I believe that it is from this same place within us that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights has sprung. Since I left this campus 46 years ago, so much has happened. Today, we live in a complicated time, and the stakes for our survival have never been higher. But you are alive at this time because you can rise to its challenges. I believe that we are not given more than we can bear. You are not expected to heal the world, but neither are you allowed to abstain from making your contribution. This is your commencement. Where will you go from here? Only your dreams will set the boundaries. And I challenge you to be daring. Dare to know yourself and be true to your inner voice. Dare to be fearless, for where there is light, no darkness can abide. Dare to stay curious about every aspect of life. Dare to be present, to take a stand. Dare to put yourself in constant question, but be kind. Dare to be vulnerable. Only the open heart can receive. Be an informed, participating citizen, respecting the rights of all with whom you come in contact. Freedom is not given, but earned by constant vigilance. Ask to be worthy to serve, and always give thanks. Above all, seek the truth and speak it from your heart. Have faith and never lose sight of the power of love. It is so good to come home, and I'm eternally grateful. Thank you very much.